Hey y'all, I'm going to show you 2 creative recipes using one of my favorite pantry staples, rice. Y'all, I am making 2 rice recipes today using one of my favorite pantry staples, rice. We're all working from home right now. I know when I shoot, hey y'all, you're thinking like, don't you always work from home? No. We are all working from home, and I have been for the past 2 weeks. And so I was thinking, what do the people need to see? The people need to see a fun way to use a staple that I know y'all all have in your pantry right now, rice. Let's get started, shall we? There's a lot of rice in the world, okay? There's just a lot, and I only have 4 kinds. Paella rice, because I lived in Spain, and that's important for me. Basmati rice, not to be confused with jasmine rice. They are very different. Basmati is used more in like Indian cooking and is not as flavorful and just like a different kind of aromatic than jasmine rice, which is used in a lot of Asian dishes. And then your standard white rice, and this is standard. You could use like Uncle Ben's, you could use Mahatma. There are a lot of white rice recipes, but my absolute favorite is this one from the South, Carolina Plantation. They make what is known to be the best rice in the world, Carolina Gold rice, but this one is their standard, just like aromatic rice, white rice, very similar to jasmine rice. Holy cow, it is so good. If you don't have it, you can use any standard like long grain white rice that you can find in the grocery store. I'm gonna use it today. How about we get started? All right, y'all, we're going to be making 2 amazing recipes with rice. One of them, crispy rice, which if you've never made it before or had it, it is amazing. It's like super smooth in the middle and the bottom is so crispy and delicious and like nutty in flavor. And the second one is horchata, which is a rice milk drink with cinnamon in it. Oh my word. Both of them delicious. We're going to get started on the crispy rice first. What you need to do is bring a large pot of water to a boil. This is about 12 cups of water. I'm also going to add about 1/4 cup of salt. I know that sounds like a lot. It is a lot. You want the water in here to taste like the saltiest of salty oceans that you've ever been in. My water's coming up to a boil. First thing, I need 2 cups of this rice, and then I have to rinse it. When all of the water that is coming out of your colander runs clear, your rice is clean enough to use. So the reason that I rinse the water off is to get rid of all the extra starch on the outside. That's going to help make sure that the rice is super crispy on the bottom. I'm going to dump the rice into this pot of boiling water, and then I'm going to stir it and let it cook for about 6 to 8 minutes or until it's al dente. So this is what you call the pasta method for cooking rice. As soon as this rice is al dente, we're going to transfer it back to the colander and run it under cold water to stop the cooking process. You definitely want to keep stirring this so the rice doesn't stick to the bottom of your pot. Okay, my timer just went off. This took about 8 minutes. We are looking for the rice to be still a little tiny bit crunchy on the inside, but almost all the way cooked. Now I'm going to strain my rice. So you might be wondering why I put all that salt in there just to drain the water off and put the salt down the drain. I did not put all the salt down the drain. Some of the salt was absorbed by the rice. Your only chance to season the rice is whenever you're cooking it in that water. So your water better be salty like the ocean. Once your rice is cooled and drained, go ahead and get out your favorite cast iron skillet, because we're all southern here. If you don't have a well-seasoned cast iron skillet, or you don't have a cast iron skillet at all, use a non-stick pan. I am going to melt 3 tablespoons of butter in the skillet, and then measure out 1 cup of my cooked rice in a bowl, and 1/4 cup of sour cream. This is just to make a really creamy bottom, and also so the rice kind of like sticks together so that I can push it into the bottom of the skillet. My butter's melted. I'm going into the skillet with this rice. Press it into the bottom in an even layer. You don't need to get it on the all the way to the edge. You just kind of need to put it in the center. The rest of your rice you're going to pile on top of this layer of rice. You kind of want to mound it in the middle slightly. Now you're gonna let this cook for about 30-ish minutes, turning it ever so often so that the heat is even on all the sides. You wanna make sure that some oil or butter is coming up around the sides. So what I'm gonna do is dab the edges of the skillet with butter so that it melts down into it. This just helps kind of fry the rice on the bottom and gets it extra crispy. Once you make sure you have enough of the butter or oil, if you choose to use that, around the sides of the rice, you want to take a normal wooden spoon and poke holes kind of all the way to the bottom. This allows steam to escape. Listen to it, you can hear it cracking. Yum! While my crispy rice is cooking, I'm gonna get started on my second rice recipe, which is a rice drink originating from Mexico called horchata. You need a pot. Obviously, you need some rice, water, evaporated milk, another classic Southern pantry staple, sugar, I know you all have it, cinnamon. I'm using ground cinnamon and cinnamon sticks, but if you only have ground cinnamon, that's totally fine too. Vanilla extract and regular milk, whole milk. Keeping in mind that I still have this crispy rice on the stove and I have to keep turning it about every 4 minutes, a quarter turn, so that the heat is even. Half cup of rice, cup of the evaporated milk, and a cup of water. I'm bringing this up to a boil with a cinnamon stick, just for flavoring. If you don't have a cinnamon stick, skip that step. You're gonna add ground cinnamon in the final step, so we can just increase that if you don't have a cinnamon stick. My water and my evaporated milk have come up to a boil, so I'm gonna add in my half cup of rice, give it a good stir, and I'm gonna let that cook completely, basically until the rice pretty much absorbs almost all of that liquid. It's about 20 minutes total. There we go. This stuff is creamy. This is like rice pudding. It's also like super creamy grits. Turn off the heat and we're just gonna set that off to the side while we get all of our other things situated for making horchata. My rice is smelling so good. Here's how you know that you're ready to flip it. Take a kind of like pliable spatula and you're gonna look around the edges to see if it's golden under there. See how we can see the edges and they're a little golden? I need to find a serving plate. What you need is a plate basically big enough to flip this into. Most serving plates or dinner plates are not that big. So you might need to get like a pizza pan or a round platter or something. Now, with confidence, here's what you're going to do. Take your spatula and carefully run it around the edges of the skillet. This part is easy. We're going to carefully flip the skillet into this. So to do that, I'm going to put this on top, like this, off of the heat, because you definitely don't want to touch that hot stove while you're doing this. I switched from the pot holders to the 2 towels because my pot holders weren't big enough to flip this, so I'm going to carefully use my towels to pick up the skillet and the plate at the same time and flip it with confidence. You can do this. Just make sure you watch the handle. Don't burn yourself. 1, 2, 3. Oh, it came out! Oh my gosh, I'm so excited! Oh! Okay, I messed up one little portion and that is it. The middle obviously is hotter, so it's gonna get crispier. This is like basically perfect crispy rice. I'm so proud. It's gonna taste delicious. But we're gonna get back to the horchata. So this is cooled all the way to room temperature. So I'm gonna transfer this to my blender. Oh, don't forget, if you used a cinnamon stick, go ahead and throw that away. All my rice mixture is in my blender and I'm going to add my liquid. So I know I said earlier that since I had whole milk, I was going to use it. I realized that I spoke too soon because I only have this much whole milk and I can't go to the store right now. So I have evaporated milk and I'm just going to use that. This is what's left of the can that I used in the cup when I did this, and I'm going to use another full can. And I'm going to fill the rest of this up with water. You need 4 cups of liquid total. This actually would be really, really good with coconut milk or almond milk. If you used the cinnamon stick earlier, then you only need a teaspoon of cinnamon now. If you did not use the cinnamon stick earlier, then you would probably need about a teaspoon and a half or a teaspoon and a quarter, depending on how much cinnamon you like. A half teaspoon of vanilla extract and some granulated sugar. Start with a third just to taste it to see if you like it. All right, traditional horchata is usually made from like uncooked rice that you soak overnight, but no one has time for that. That's why I sped up the process by cooking the rice and blending it. This also gives you a super smoother product in the end. Traditional horchata is kind of like grainy. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna strain half of my mixture so that most of it is smooth, but there's a little bit of that traditional authentic graininess in there. It is so refreshing and creamy. It's like a kind of like a healthy-ish version of a milkshake. You get that creamy, cold drink feel, but you feel a little bit less guilty because it doesn't have ice cream involved. It has rice. Perfect to beat the summer heat in the South. But like I was saying, you can have it cold over ice, my preferred way to drink it, or you can have it hot, kind of like hot chocolate. Or if you're feeling extra fancy, you can put some bourbon in it. Don't tell the kids. I strained all of my horchata. It is looking so good. Smells delicious, so cinnamony. Oh my gosh, y'all, kids would love this. Just because I can, I'm going to sprinkle a little bit of extra cinnamon on the top of this because it looks really pretty. It's gonna be so good. Let's give it a try. Oh my word, it is so good. If you've ever had horchata, you definitely have to give this recipe a try. So good, but I completely forgot. I have a whole other recipe that I have to deal with. This crispy rice situation. Y'all, look at this. I'm still so proud of how this came out. It is pretty much perfect. While the cameras were cutting, I took it upon myself to make Southern Living's tomato gravy because I think that would be the perfect combo for this crispy rice. Y'all, any Southern classic recipe that calls to serve with white rice, you can now serve it with crispy white rice. Why would you not make it 10 times better than just serving with plain old white rice? Holy cow. What more could you ask for? This is gonna be so yummy. Oh my word. It is heavenly. For more awesome recipes like this horchata and this crispy rice, be sure to subscribe to this channel, Southern Living on YouTube, but as always, we're on Facebook and Instagram too. If you make anything with rice, I would love to know about it. Tag me at Odom on my Instagram, and I'll put it on my stories, because if you make the crispy rice, if you make horchata, or if you just have a really cool rice recipe you want to share with me, I would love to read about it on Insta. Catch y'all later. Cheers.